just kind of revisit it before we carry on. So the cross grip, when we get into this position, I have to take away any sort of looseness in the gi. So this is why I'm kind of pulling my knuckles in and my fingers up and trying to drive my knuckles into the back of that hand. Okay, so this is really important to stop his ability to rotate the wrist. If there's a bit of slack, it's really easy for Jason to roll his wrist around. Yeah, and then this is where you end up kind of getting your fingers caught up and stuff. So just by doing that, he tries to roll his wrist now. It's much more difficult because the knuckles are on the back of the hand. So if you're struggling and the person can roll the wrist, you just need to take the slack out of the game. That's what's going to really help. What also really helps the wrist is straightening the arm. Okay? Because when his elbow's bent, he can make bigger circular motions with his shoulder and his elbow bent. So he can now use his shoulder, his wrist to create even bigger circular motions to try and roll the wrist. Yeah, when I get into this position here and the arm straight, the only thing that's able to rotate is his wrist. So now when he tries to rotate his wrist, it's much more difficult. Slight bend on the elbow, he can start moving his elbows and his wrist, his shoulder to create a bigger circular motion. So just make sure you take the slack out and you get his arm straight. Yeah, and reduce the ability for all these different pivot points to not be able to do anything. Okay. The other thing which I think most people are getting after just a little bit of a change is when we get to here and we push that down, okay, I need to get Jason's shoulder, which is currently on my chest, onto the mat. Okay. A lot of us are doing this already, so we kind of get onto our hip to create a gap, and it's that little dip that we're after. Okay, so you see differences here, kind of resting on my chest. I need that shoulder onto the mat, and by keeping that arm straight, it's going to make it a little more easier. Okay, coming across, grabbing the lat, and then pulling the lat this way. Okay, so it's going to make it a lot more difficult for him to start posturing up and getting away. It also keeps my back exposure. Yeah, so from here, if I don't control this, he can start flattening and rolling round, starting from that position. So here, keeps in a position where I can actually start looking at getting his back. Next thing we need to do is sum up with these legs. Okay, so the biggest problem we've got is this leg at the moment. Okay, it's kind of stuck in between. If we're flexible and long, we can look at kind of inching our hip round and getting into a triangle back mount, but I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get a hook. Okay, I don't have to bring the leg all the way out, but I just need to establish a hook. So a couple of ideas to play around with. We can try chop the base and slide the hook in there, or I can start trying to inch my leg out a little bit and then bring the hook in. Okay, I'm just going to give you a bit of time to have a play and see what works for you, because it might be different. Some people might have that dexterity and flexibility just to kind of bring the leg up and then hook to this leg. Some people might need to chop them down or really force the leg through just because they don't have the same flexibility and dexterity. Okay, but our goal is just get that inside hook on that leg. So take the sack out. Yeah, straighten the arm. Currently resting on my chest. Drop it to the mat. Keep a nice tight grip of the lat, and then just work out what's going to work for you to get this leg in between his legs. So your leg in between his legs. So it might be a little chop, and then you see I've got that hook. Yeah, this is going to make it much easier to now start looking at bailing and start taking his back properly. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Give it a go. 1, 2, 3. Do something that might make it a little bit easier as well. So one of the things that makes this really difficult is obviously we kind of go on the floor. And we've got lots of different points of contact to the floor as well. Anytime you're in those situations, it's really hard to move quickly. If you think about what gives us the best options to move fastly and dynamically, it's when we've usually got a post or a frame or a foot out to help us kind of move from that position. So if you look at the position again and kind of what's happening, like here I've got my hip, my shoulder on the mat. Now typically this is always going to make things harder for us to move quickly or to be able to kind of make the movement. So even if this inside foot gets trapped, and we for whatever reason we just cannot get that leg in between the legs, our next option is to start creating space. Okay, so I'm keeping a nice tight grip here with the lat, because this is what's keeping my back exposed at the moment. Okay, I'm going to try and slide my hip out a little bit more, but But from this position, I'm going to do an all-hand kick up and post my arm out. So from here, I'm going to all-hand kick up and post. Now it's a lot easier for me to move quicker and create bigger movements because I'm not on my back, my shoulder. So from here, it's a lot easier. So now, still keeping control less, it's easy to kind of just slide my foot out. And you see where the hook is now? It's much easier to get that foot through because I can kind of move my hip to get out of the way. So, next thing we're going to play around with is all-hand kick up to post. Yeah, keeping nice tight control here. Slide the leg out and then hook it straight away. So it's hooked inside there. Okay, and from this position, it's much easier now to start sitting on top of my partner and coming round and get my back round. When these feet go in and we keep some control, that's when we start scoring points of back round as well. Okay, so with that, Jay, everything's still the same. Posting out. This leg's still trapped. So I'm going to inch my hip out just a little bit whilst I'm really on my side. I use this all-hand kick up a lot, but I definitely use it from this position to help release the gi, post that hand out, keeping it tight grip here, hip comes out, slide, and then start looking for your back. You don't have to get the same hook that I did, where I hooked around the foot, because that can limit our ability to get on top, but I'll show you why I use it before I go onto the back, just in case things go wrong. We'll give it a go. 1, 2, 3. One of the other things, okay, on this side, that I like to use quite a lot, especially with just legs and everything being up. I sometimes find it hard to get top position, back control from this position. Either they end up kind of grabbing some of either your leg or whatever, which kind of pigeon stops you from getting around. So one of my favourite things to do, again, it's all kind of dependent on having this posture broken down, is first of all get leg in the middle, exact same thing we've just done. Oh, I like to kind of do this. This time I'm keeping the hook in, because I'm not relying on getting over on top. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the hip. Now when I drag the hip, I tend to switch and bring this arm back through here, and then grab hold of the hip and pull the hip. As I pull the hip in though, I need to create a little bit of space for this hip to go into. So I release the hook and pull, and now I get back control. So it's a bit of a lazy way of doing this, but this is quite high percentage for me. Sometimes I really struggle, to get the back and get into this position. I also really like this hook on the foot, which limits my ability to get the back cleanly, but it's a bit of an insurance policy for me. So having this foot in here, gives me a little bit of control. It keeps me attached. So at the same position here, this time I'm going to drag the hip, this hand's going to go on the inside, and I'm just going to move the hip back. So there, pull, arm goes through, into your seat belt and into my hooks. Okay? Dead easy one to have a little play with. Very boring, but if you keep doing jiu-jitsu up until 40 odd, you'll need this to take back. So just have it as your 40-year-old insurance policy. A couple of goes and then we'll start going. Alright, on 3. 1, 2, 3.